Hello and welcome to this episode of Convenience Talks. Although I do think we're going to be talking a little bit of hospitality as well, because I'm joined by the wonderful, inimitable, easy for you to say, Katie, David Sands, who is the founder of David's Kitchen, amongst other things. David, you're an industry legend. You need no introduction, but just in case there's anyone out there that doesn't know you, would you just like to introduce yourself?
Well, I was glad you didn't introduce me as a veteran. I always get
I
worried
thought legend would be better.
Yeah, good afternoon, Katie. Yeah, my background, I was brought up in a family business where we had the one shop in Kinross. I worked in it from a very early age, worked with my dad, mum and dad. And when I left university, I did a business and law degree, then went to Sainsbury's, worked in London as a graduate trainee, came back into the family business, and over the next 25 years built up a business called David Sands, which we sold to the cooperative in 2012. And after that, I, along with some former colleagues at David Sands, set up a new business called David's Kitchen. The difference David's Kitchen has compared to most convenience stores is we have a kitchen in every store, and we make a lot of the food we sell. And you know, our aspiration when we first opened, our aspiration was to sell about 25% of total sales from within the store, from what we make. We've surpassed that now. We're at about a third now of sales. Wow. So we make everything from sandwiches, soups, meals, both hot and cold, right down to ice cream. These are all made in stores, right in front of customers. And you know, the aspiration now is to get to 50% of our sales from things we make ourselves. Our latest store, which opened 3 months before the pandemic struck, was we thought a really interesting model, because we had created a store which had 50 covers. It was a coffee shop, it was a bakery, it was an ice cream parlour, and as well as a traditional convenience. But then, of course, last March, things changed.
And so you've got this, it's almost hybrid model where you've got a grocery offering, you've got a food service offering. Where do you get your inspiration from for those two separate offerings?
So I guess, like most independent retailers, good independent retailers, we go out and we go around the world. And goodness me, I've been on many a trip around the world. But if you know, a very simple one, anyone watching this who's thinking about food service, go to Ireland. Go there. They're the best. They're the best in the world, in my opinion. And you know, I've really truly been inspired by some of the Irish retailers I've met. And a lot of my thinking and what we do in stores has come from visits in Ireland.
And do you benchmark your food service offering against any of the sort of more pure food service offerings, any of the QSRs, any of the pubs, any of the restaurants? You know, is that something you compare yourself to, or do you see it as a very separate offering?
My vision is to make good, ordinary, everyday food in stores. Things like macaroni cheese, lasagna, curries, things like that. Stuff that people like and eat every day of the week, but to do it well, and not to have any pretensions to be anything other than just good, honest food. And you know, Katie, it's really working. You know, prior to the pandemic, you know, we had a couple of really successful stores, and I knew things were going right when we had a Tesco Express open beside our store in Glenrothes, and I thought, goodness, this isn't good. Well, the reality is our turnover has soared, and really, I think we can safely say that our model can compete with the supermarket convenience store models.
Good. Well, I'm very glad to hear it. So talk to me a little bit about the dreaded pandemic, which has come in and screwed up everything. What on earth, what did you do in your stores because of the pandemic? Because obviously you've got a load of covers there as well, so you're not having people sitting in to eat. You know, what did you change? Where did you pivot, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody else who manages their own business, who owns a business, you had suddenly had this huge amount of uncertainty. what was going to happen. Were we all going to come down? All of us going to be unwell? Would I have staff to actually manage stores? All of that. And I remember, the first couple of weeks of the pandemic, phone calls about 10 o'clock each night. Right, what have we learned today? What do we need to do? And actually, interesting, because Ireland had gone into lockdown a little bit quicker than we had. And so I was able to learn very quickly what was going on and feed that back to our own business. You'll recall that early on, there was a big rush on basic foodstuffs. But actually, I knew from Ireland that what was really going to happen was that things like off sales were going to soar once people realised the grim reality of being stuck at home. And so we were slightly ahead of the curve. We made sure that our supply situation was strong. And, over the years, we've developed very strong relations with local suppliers, and they were utterly critical to us in the first few months because the supply chain was all over the place, frankly, national supply chain. So our local suppliers absolutely stepped up. We did some great business with them, and that kept our shelves stocked. We lost the whole seating in. That business went overnight. The other part of our business, which we had been developing carefully over the years, was supplying to events. So we would supply to weddings, functions, all that sort of stuff. All of that just disappeared. Mm-hmm. And we were kind of thinking, my goodness, I actually thought we would probably have to lay off people or furlough people who worked in our kitchens. And then one of the team, Diane, came up with this idea of afternoon teas. And this was an extraordinary thing. I mean, it's a big platter of goodies. And we kind of realized that a lot of people were quite anxious about their parents they couldn't go and see them. And we came up with this idea, look, why don't you buy from us this afternoon tea and we'll deliver it to your parents who happen to live nearby. And the thing took off. I can't stress enough how big that is. Mm-hmm. And I mean, fast forward to now, we've got Mother's Day coming up this weekend. Mm-hmm. We've got over 500 orders for these afternoon teas. Right. So that business didn't exist a year ago. That business is not going away. And, we've added in this whole online. We didn't do online ordering. We didn't do delivery. All of that has come in the last 12 months. And it's a constant process of trying things and working out what works best. So we've partnered in one of our stores with Just Eat and Deliveroo. I'm not convinced that's going to work. The service isn't particularly good, and I don't want to be associated with bad service. Mm-hmm. So I think we probably are going to have to take that in-house, I think, to go forward. Okay. Our next thing is we're trying to recruit a development chef just now, and we want to what are people looking for next? And we're thinking about healthy meals, protein-based meals and all that sort of stuff. So we're thinking about that. Just where do we go next? Mm-hmm. So it's like all businesses, the ones that over the last 12 months it's been challenging, of course, but those who've adapted to it will probably come out quite strongly. Those who, for all sorts of reasons, say, my goodness, this is awful. I'm shut, and there's nothing I can do about it. Well, it's whilst I sympathise with them, I think entrepreneurs, we're restless souls. We're always thinking about, well, what can we do? And the big thing I've learned, I think, is actually we can change things really quickly. Now, I should have known that. I should have known that by now. But maybe it was I maybe had to relearn that lesson. But that's certainly what we did.
Yeah, I think that's a mindset thing, though, is it? Because, in business, we've always been taught to be a bit cautious and to dot the I's and cross the T's. And all of a sudden, none of us really had the time to do that because it was kind of, sink or swim, so to speak. So you had to swim and you had to do it fast. I think that for me has actually been one of the main positives of the journey we've all been on in the last year, is that we have learned that business can move a lot quicker than it used to. And I think that's a great thing. David, you mentioned off sales earlier and how they've increased, and I can promise you I'm in a household where they've increased. Tell me how the sort of traditional hospitality being closed has given you an opportunity, from having the pubs and bars and restaurants closed? What has that meant for your off sales and your range and everything else?
Yeah, I mean, it's an obvious opportunity because I think we're all agreed that basically we're not drinking any less. We're just drinking it at home. And I think what this has exposed to me is that our off sales were all right. You could get chilled beers, wines, and all that, but actually they were pretty boring, truthfully. And I realised that we needed to step up. We needed to be better than we were. So we've been doing a lot of experiments with widening our range, lot more products. So, one of the things we're doing, we've got this section on world beers now. I think we've got the best part of 200 beers in that. That's way more than we had before. We've increased our space for wines. And we have much more premium wines and much more time spent trying to tell the consumer about the products themselves. Things we should have been doing, to be honest, but haven't been doing. I think we got stuck in a promotion cycle rut where every 3 weeks Blossom Hill was getting promoted and multi-packs of Tennent's Lager, that sort of stuff. And to be honest, I think there's a learning for the industry, actually, that I'm not sure that price is everything. And I think innovation, new products, tasting new stuff, and making it easy and shopper friendly, and communication and tastings and all these good things mean that the consumer should be. I feel that, having improved our operation, that they will be coming away thinking, you know what, I'm getting a really good bottle of wine at £20 in a convenience store. That's a good bottle of wine. You'd be paying £50 easily in a restaurant for that bottle, the same bottle.
Yeah, and the rest, yeah, absolutely.
So it will be interesting when we come out of lockdown, if we ever do in Scotland, that what are consumers going to do, having got used to this idea of buying pretty good premiumized products from the local convenience store. Are they prepared to go back and spend that same amount, in a restaurant? They will, to an extent, but I do wonder whether things will change. People have got used to being at home, and we moan and groan about it, but I do wonder whether things may have changed and new habits will have formed. And that's, as a shareholder in a hotel business, that's a worry, to be honest.
I think you're right, and I think that one of the things that hospitality does so well is that experience piece, and for your hotel chain and for all the pubs, bars, and restaurants out there, it's all going to be about wowing the customer. But in the meantime, if convenience wants to hang on to that extra custom that it's bought in, it's got to still be providing that experience. And it's if you're going back to crap ranges and dusty shelves, then that's not going to work. So just to finish up then, David, what's the future look like for your stores at the moment? What plans have you got, if you can tell me those, and what do you see happening personally within the 4 stores that you've got?
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope to expand our store numbers. I believe we're onto something with the model we've got. We've worked. Every time we open a store, we do it a little bit differently. We take our learnings, hopefully, and from visiting others. I'm quite interested in a standalone David's Kitchen. So not have the convenience part, but have the food service part, because I do think there's not anything really out there on the high street that compares. I think there'll be opportunities with empty properties over the next couple of years, and we may be able to, the cost of setting up a David's Kitchen as it stands is somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million.
Right.
A standalone David's Kitchen without the convenience part is a much less of an investment, and therefore, I don't see any reason why we couldn't do that. I want to step up the quality of the meals that we do. I see opportunities there around sort of health and well-being, better meals, but to reach that sort of target market. And our biggest challenge is trying to develop something in the evenings. We sell ready meals that you can take home, but I still think we need to create some theatre in the evenings. Mm-hmm. We've got a fantastic breakfast business, really good lunch business. We don't have anything after that. And I don't want to become like a baker shop and shut round about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We trade till 10 o'clock at night. I'm paying a lot of money for that space, so I really need something in there. We've been trying pizzas, not convinced that's the right answer. Maybe ice cream is part of the answer, but I think we need something foodie to go in there. And I look forward to getting out and trying to find some concepts that might work.
Well, first of all, ice cream is always the answer. And secondly, as we discussed earlier, Mexican home kits, that's the way to go. David, thank you so much. It's been wonderful to be walked through David's kitchen and to understand where you're going with it and where you're getting your inspiration from. And when we can, I will come up and have a look at the stores because I'm very, very keen to see them. So thank you so much for your time today, David.
No, thank you.
Thank you.